good. But we've always done presentations with slides, so this is how we've always done it, and this time I'm having slides as well. It's the end of the day already, end of the conference almost, so almost. Really cool keynote coming afterwards as well. So I'll be giving quite an easy talk to listen. I'll be going back to basics, and I'll be asking the question why. Why are we doing what we are doing, and why are we making products, and why are we sometimes killing products or processes? Because sometimes it's quite difficult to say what the product is. So that is what I'm going to talk about. My name is Mari, and I come from Fortimo. My nice colleagues here in the front row, they thought it was cool to bring along banners and everything as well to promote Fortimo, because we're always hiring and doing all sorts of cool stuff.
I didn't hear that, and I don't see the flags.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do here, but yeah, I'm not that girl. I'm not the recruiter. So what Fortimo is doing, Fortimo is a carrier billing company. We offer carrier billing solutions to merchants across the globe. And we've grown quite a bit over the past few years. I joined Fortimo roughly 3 years ago, a little bit more than 3 years ago. And I think back then we had around 20 employees. Now we don't have hundreds of employees. We have around 60 or 70 employees. We have offices all over the world, in Beijing, in New Delhi, we have in the States as well. So our team has grown a bit. I think we used to cover 4 years ago, it was 60 countries, I think. Now there are 94 countries where merchants can use our payments to collect mobile revenue. And we will continue to grow. We will continue to grow because we started out as a premium SMS offering company, premium SMS solutions. And we mostly offered our platform for value-added services and for selling virtual goods. But now we're moving more towards digital commerce and also app stores. So we will continue to grow. And our people have grown as well. I have grown. When I joined Fortimo, then I did nothing with product really. I started out as a support person. I did office management. I was the do-it-all. I knew nothing about mobile payments. Then I started managing our key accounts, working closer with merchants, help them to get live in various countries. I also did some compliance monitoring and made sure that all merchants that went live, for example, in Saudi Arabia, that they could actually do it, because in some countries, some certain services are forbidden, for example. And back then, we didn't even have a product organization as such. It was like a startup, really, because in a typical startup, you don't normally have product organization. It comes afterwards. I don't know if well, we're all IT people here. How many of you are familiar with Steve Blank's work? Okay, good. Steve Blank is an academic and an entrepreneur, and he has researched startups quite a bit, and he has developed this customer development model. And what he says is that during the first stages of startups, you first focus on finding your customers, finding the product market fit, and this is the key thing that separates startups from traditional companies. Because traditional companies, they have a tested model, tested business model that they're going to execute. Startups, they still need to find that perfect business model that they're going to execute. So Fortum as well, it was a startup at first. And you focus on different things in startups than you do in companies where you have already found that product market fit, where you already are executing that business model that you have fixed. And once you have found that business model, you have found your customers, you have validated all your hypotheses, and you're not doing pivots anymore that much. You can have startups inside your bigger organization as well, but that's a different topic. Then you need to start focusing on efficiency and scale. And another guy has researched, it's called Max Marmer, is premature scaling. And according to his research, he put together a research called Startup Genome Project, or something like that. It was based on startups in San Francisco. Like there were thousands of startups involved. And what he discovered was that the number one reason for startup death was premature scaling. And what that means is that you hire too many people too early. You spend too much cash too early. Or you build to scale your product too early. So that's what he discovered. But if you don't build to scale at first, then it's quite common that you end up with one big monolithic legacy app. I don't know if any of you listened to my colleague Marek yesterday. He was talking about engineering's perspective on breaking down that one big monolithic legacy app to different services. So I, on the other hand, saw that very same process, but from product perspective. And it was pretty interesting because you have quite a few books and articles and everything about building new products where you collect all feature requests and do all sorts of fun stuff. But how you actually break down a big legacy app, how do you take ownership of something that's really huge? There's so little information about that. So it was difficult. That's the definition of a legacy system, in essence, taken from Wikipedia, nothing original here. And I think the key definition is the final piece of it. The legacy system is something that is out of date or in need of replacement. So that's what we heard in Fortum as well. We need to kill our Fortum alive, and we need to build new products for everything, for monitoring, for operational tools, everything. We need to do everything, to rewrite everything. Seriously, why? Okay, technologically you probably need to do that, but at some point it kind of felt that killing a big old Fortum Alive, so-called, was like a goal in its own. But it can never be a goal in its own. It needs to pose it needs to have a reason. Why do you want to kill that legacy app? Perhaps, yes, there are technical reasons for doing that. It's difficult to develop on it. It's difficult to add new features. It's slow. Okay, that could be an argument. It's very easy to kill an app if it causes you loss of revenue. I mean, nobody wants to run a product that is not making you any money. So that's pretty easily justified. And there's also resources burden, which means that you could be doing very many repetitive tasks inside your company, and it just doesn't make sense. But you need to justify, why do you want to kill that big legacy? It cannot be a goal in its own. And that needs to be in your head at all times. You need to think, why do you want to do something? And simply saying that something takes much time, that also isn't like a reason in its own. Go further, ask, why does it take you so much time? Are you doing everything because someone told you that you need to do it that way? Because that's quite common what happens. You get a new employee, you train them, you tell them that this is how you search transactions here. Okay, so the new employee starts searching transactions some way. Doesn't ask like why. A new employee comes in, gets the same instructions. We've always done it like that. And then nobody actually remembers that, oh, we're searching transactions because somebody couldn't make a payment, and perhaps we should fix the reason that made the payment fail. Why are we fixing the way we search transactions? So you need to think about these questions all the time. But anyhow, how do you take ownership of this big app where everything is together? It's difficult. You need to learn the product as a new PM. I mean, people that built the product might not be with you anymore. They might have left the company. So quite often you're in a position where you go to a company and you need to be the product manager or something that is already there. With external products, it's not that difficult. You can kind of make the borders of what is a product. You have a web payment widget, or you have some externally offered API or an SDK. You can say what it is. So, not that complex. You can define a product. But you shouldn't assume anything. Make sure who you're working with, who knows the product already, ask questions from them, learn the product inside and out, use it. The best way to actually learn something is to use the product that you need to manage. You can't just read documentation and think that's enough. It really isn't. Put yourself in your customer's shoes who uses the product. I think I've read all documents in Fortum, really, but I couldn't manage an external product really well because I had never been a merchant that had integrated a mobile payment system. I just couldn't do that. So I couldn't see myself managing such a product. On the other hand, I had been a customer support specialist. I had been a compliance manager. I had worked together with sales. I knew the people who I was working with. I knew these internal customers. And I did a pretty good job at managing our internal products. But the only reason I could do that was that I had been in the customer's shoes. I knew what I had to do. I had studied all the problems. And whatever you do, you need to position the product with your company's vision. And that's the business school that is being taught. And I only recently realized I have studied economics and business myself, and I always thought that it was such a soft topic. Like, I can't do product management with only business and economics. I need to go study engineering, and that's the only way to get clever. But then I realized that no, I just had to be able to see the big picture. I had to know the problem that I'm about to solve, and the only way to know the problem that you need to solve inside a company is to have a very clear vision in front of you. What are you supporting? And what is the strategy that helps you get to that vision? And once you have that, then you can do that product manager job. It's the same with processes, pretty much. And the processes approach was what we used with internal products, because all operational tools and internal products in Fortuma, they aren't there because you need to have operational tools. They are there to support offering payment solutions to external merchants. They are simply tools for doing something, but they don't need to be there because they need to be there. They are supporting something else. So with internal products, you need to study the process, the internal business process that you're doing. For example, we pay out money to every merchant that we have every month. It's a monthly process. It used to be done, the whole process used to be carried out by engineering team. It's quite a while ago. And it took them a lot of time every month. So we decided to fix the process. And by fixing the process, we reduced that time. Now this can be done by some certain internal tools that we have. That was not just building a new product or fixing an old product. It was fixing a process. And with a process, you need to ask the very same questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? Should we be doing what we're doing? We can't accept an answer that this is how we've always done it. And with processes as well, you need to position it, process. Do you need to be doing that thing every month? Yes, you need to pay out merchants every month, obviously. But perhaps you don't need to put together a certain report every month. So ask why you're doing what you're doing. And in the end of the day, own the problem. Own the problem, not the product. You need to offer solutions to problems. You don't need to offer solutions because of solutions. You need to solve problems. But okay, once you decide that yes, this process doesn't work, this product doesn't work, somebody needs to make that decision that, okay, we are going to kill it. That's the only way to get things moving. You either decide that, yes, we're going to do it, No, we're not going to do it. It's okay to make mistakes. Sometimes we make wrong decisions. And once that decision is made, the rest is easy. Inform your customers and employees. Employees first, because customers are going to talk to your employees, and it's going to look very stupid if they don't know what you're doing. So inform everybody that, for example, you are shutting down a product or a process. Explanations and arguments make everything easier to digest. As I said, you ask questions while you're doing something, say it to others as well. Don't just say that that's the decision, we made it, this is how it is. Say why you made that decision. Why is it important that we kill that product? Why is it important that we do something in a different way? Explain, argument, and if you argument well, then the people that are about to, let's say, suffer, they will agree with you. And offer alternative solutions. They don't always have to be your own products or whatever, but once you have made that decision that you're not going to support something anymore, then simply offer a different solution to somebody's problem. Yes. And I have a boss in Tartu who really likes hip-hop quotes. So I decided to have one hip-hop quote here as well, for one reason. And the reason is that I want to emphasize that you should never, when killing a product or something old, you should never put the people who built it, you should never put them down or say that what you've done in the past is something bad, something horrible, because that's so easy to do with some legacy apps or whatever. Don't put them down. It's like it's the ultimate motivation killer, or that's the ultimate thing that hurts your organization culture, and it's just horrible. You just need to remember that if you didn't have that legacy software there, or those legacy processes there, then you wouldn't be in a position where you could actually kill them. You wouldn't have built your business in first place. So don't put the people down who built something old. That old thing helped you get to where you are. And that's all from me. So I didn't talk for a long time at all. But I'd like to know if anyone has any questions or perhaps experience with changing processes or killing products on your end. And if you do have some experience, then it would be very nice if you got in touch with me. Maybe you don't want to ask any questions right now, but I am researching scaling startups that have reached that efficiency and scaling phase in university as well. So it would be nice to get in touch with you.
Yeah, just the experience in killing a product. I've had many. But one of the most difficult things you mentioned is that there's a lot of items there that you highlighted. Is that it's a legacy old system, and it only kind of was it as operating systems and everything else has evolved. Sometimes they just don't continually to move with the latest versions and so forth. And then also there's the financial impact. I've had to kill the most difficult ones is when you're killing products that are actually making a lot of money. But I've had a product that was making about 50 million a year. But the problem was that because we were no longer maintaining it and updating it and keeping it current, it started hurting the bigger company's brand and their reputation. And ultimately, it was hard for the executive team to let go because they saw the dollar figures. But eventually, after the time of actually reviewing and looking at our actually brand damage that was causing us and potentially causing revenues that we would have got in other areas of products, it's a very difficult decision for them to make. And ultimately, when we made the decision, and of course you have to provide alternative direction and alternative products, because if you kill something off and you don't have a replacement, you then hurt your brand even further. So it's always important to have a different direction from the go. But sometimes you do have to look at that revenue and look at the actual reputation you have. And your reputation, because you're selling many products, is usually more important than that amount of revenue you can get.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's a difficult thing to do. And it's one of the most difficult tasks, especially if you have a lot of revenue. It's easy to kill when there's nothing behind it.
Exactly.
But when you're talking about large financial impacts of a company, it's difficult.
Yeah, definitely. You need to look at all those alternative costs as well. And
Killing a product is expensive as well.
It is.
You have to look at it. Is that when you kill a product, there's a lot of things you have to do. The resources, you have to retrain into other things. You have to let people go. Letting people go sometimes actually means a cost of actually letting people go. There's a lot of scenarios that comes into play. Choosing alternative products can even cost you money as well, because you may have to subsidize some of those licenses to move those customers across to keep them with other products. So don't consider killing a product as actually saving money. There is actually a large cost behind actually doing it as well. So,
yeah, and sometimes you mentioned that you need to fire some employees, or sometimes you need to take some employees on board only to get something killed. Yeah, definitely an investment there. But yeah, cost benefit. That's the comparison you need to make all the time.
You were also mentioning the reason for startups are dying is the too fast scaling.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know any startups who don't suffer from that. It's, I think, issue everywhere. And I hear stories all over where they have big monoliths and now they're having challenges of breaking that down. That can be very interesting for engineers, but somehow they all encounter that. They don't deal with that soon enough. And from the previous talk here, that mentioned that we need to move fast and we need to move even faster. That makes startups even more prone to this too fast scaling. So do you have any examples of startups that don't suffer from scaling?
No, they can all suffer really, but sorry. Startups that don't suffer from premature scaling.
Yes. I mean, if they scale really, really fast, then they might die.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
most of them suffer like a little bit. From
it depends if they have revenue stream or not. That's the big question in scaling. So if you're a startup and you don't have a revenue stream coming in, scaling too fast will eat away your money very quickly. If you don't have a revenue stream coming in, so if you don't have paying customers from the start, then scaling can be the death of you. But if you do actually create a startup that actually does get a revenue stream very early, when you actually scale, the revenue will help you keep momentum going. So
if you have large enough revenue coming in, it means your customer base is growing and they're expecting new and new features and growth from your application, which leads to the point where you need to push new features out and build on top of that monolith, and you don't have time to do proper design and modularization of your application.
Because one of my recommendations, anyone who's doing startups, I always say at the beginning, one of the big mistakes that a lot of startups do is they make it free from the start and then try to add a paid service later. It's always good to think as a paid service from the beginning. That will help you in these types of scenarios. You may decide to also have a free piece of it, but always have a paid service to begin with. Don't try to add it on later.
There's also a problem if you're not scaling fast enough. It's another
You're going to
problem.
start losing customers.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, my reputation as well.
So balance is crucial.
Definitely, and I mean, don't scale fast enough. I mean, that is why this decision is finally made, that you need to break up that monolith, for example, because you need to support scaling. Yes. Nice discussion. Thanks. Anyone else? No? Okay. Then I think that we have quite a bit of time. Till when? What time does?
That's a bit coffee break.
Yeah.
Coffee break.
That ended in 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
So I hope the coffee is ready. But,
Thank you.
thank you.